There's no good way to convey the emotions and experiences of this trip. I can't condense a month's worth of deep conversations and experiences into a 10-minute video, but that isn't going to keep me from trying. The feeling of awe as I watched the mountains give way to a massive flat river delta that would be our new temporary home was really quite incredible. The feeling of dread as I watched our airplane fly off into the distance is another feeling that I can't quite express. And the new feeling of concern as I watched all of the village kids walk off into the jungle with all of our bags is possibly a bit more relatable. Caitlin and I quickly trailed after them, and we didn't really stop trailing after them the whole rest of the time that we were in the village. The first few days were kind of a blur as we met everyone, adjusted to the constant heat, and moved into our bush house, so I apologize for not capturing much of it on video. I hope that the bits that I did get will give you a glimpse of what our life is like out there. I wanted to do at least one video a week while we're here in Paddington/Samban. We're here for 29 days. I've already kind of miserably failed that. I think we're 9 days in and I am recording the first video. My wife is downstairs teaching some women to knit right now, and it's super cool to watch. But when I went down to see what they're up to and see if there are any guys who wanted to hang out, they all kind of got really quiet because they don't want a story around the guy. So I decided to come back up here and record a video. I don't really know at this point if I'm going to post these or if it's appropriate to share this, but I want to record something for the sake of getting it out there, getting my thoughts out, because I'm keeping a journal for language learning and kind of day-to-day things that we're learning about the culture here, but I'm not actually keeping a journal for my sake. So this is kind of my personal journal. I haven't sweat this much since, I don't know, it's really hot. I haven't had this much fun in a long time. I haven't struggled this hard in a long time, and it's a difficult place to live, but it's good to be here. We went to church last Sunday and sat on some construction materials and worshipped God together in 3 different languages, and that was really encouraging. And we got to take communion together, and they didn't have a way to get juice or wine here, and they didn't have a way to get bread, so our communion wine was coconut water, and our bread was coconut husk, the milky white part of the coconut. And it was honestly one of the greatest communions I've had in a very, very long time. I think that's it for now. I'd love to keep chatting and try and get more stuff out of my head and into the camera so that I can think about other things, but I don't have the energy for it. I think in Fahrenheit it's about 96, and it's right at 98% humidity, so I hear thunder in the background though, which means it might rain, and then the temp will come all the way down to like 80 and we'll be shivering, so thanks for letting me hang out for a little bit. I'll see if I can update again in a few days. I think it might rain. A bit. It might rain. This is our second Sunday here. We had a really good time at church, Lotu service, and it was cool. I mean, metaphorically cool and physically really, really, really hot. Finished pumping water for the day, so our header tank's full. The mosquitoes aren't too bad because the sun's out. The termites that are eating the roof of the house wing above me seem to be going a little slower than they were yesterday, so it's a good day. One thing that's kind of interesting that you guys might find weird or cool depending on how you feel about it. In America, for me at least, it's really easy to be alone and have time where I can just talk, think, look at a camera, and nobody thinks it's weird. Whereas here, in Madang too, but here especially, I'm never alone. There's never a time where there's not like a kid there and a kid there and 2 dogs and a pig and a chicken and my wasp papa looking at me holding this camera thinking, what's the crazy white guy doing? It's different here. Here there's always someone. Back home, I could go, if I wanted to, for days without seeing someone, and it's not possible here. And I think for the sake of sharing the gospel and getting to talk to people about Jesus and have really good, deep conversations, that's a really cool thing. For the sake of personal sanity as an introvert, I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, but I think I'll survive. I'm gonna go play a little bit of guitar and see who shows up so I can story and practice my tokvis, and see ya. Just realized my camera's covered in ants. Probably shouldn't have put it there. Anyways, one of the really cool things about being here has been the time to just sit and breathe and work on reading and writing that I wouldn't have had if I were back in Medang, or definitely not if I were back in America. That's a cool part of being here. I may have already mentioned that, but I don't know. We're, I think, 17 days in at this point, and I am really glad that I get to be here with the people, and here with my thoughts, and here with the time of prayer to God. That's my update for right now. Alright, so I am in the midst of packing right now, and I heard this crazy noise, and I couldn't figure out what it is. So I'm in the bedroom of the house in the village, and bed bug net is right there. Over here, there's this massive beehive in the wall, and it's not been that big a deal, but like if you put your hand on it, it's warm and you can feel the bees in there. But right now it's not warm and you can't feel any movement. I heard this really weird noise, so I opened this up and I looked out. I don't know if you can see that, but there are like the entire hive's worth of bees swarming. So I was gonna go outside and do chores and pump water so I could like prep to leave tomorrow, but not anymore. That's a massive bee swarm. It's really not that bad, so Caitlin and I kind of like honeybees. I just wish they weren't living in our wall. You win some, you lose some. It was really hard to leave that place. The village is incredible, and while it has its share of problems, what place doesn't? It was so encouraging to be there and to see what God is doing in the lives of my new friends. Flying at nearly 10,000 feet through the clouds as we approached Medang, I looked down and saw hundreds of villages just like the one that we had spent the last 4 weeks in. Looking at all the cook fires and the homes, I couldn't help but think of all the thousands of lives being lived as we passed by overhead. I thought of the needs and the desires, the plans and the dreams, and all of the struggles, and as we flew closer to the mountains that separated the village from town, I realized that I could give until I break without making a lasting difference. In the vastness of all this, with all of these villages and all of these people, I'm not that big of a deal. And on my own, I probably won't have that big of an impact. The only thing I have to offer of any lasting eternal value is the gospel. And my one prayer is that the work that we do here will help bring people to Jesus above all else.